Good morning and welcome to another Health Talk with John T. It's a beautiful Sunday. Kind of weird. We had a thunderstorm last night, sunny yesterday, sunny today. Oh well. Anyway, so today I'm talking about resistance training, well, actually, exercise in general, and the elderly. I wanted to get to protein. That's going to take a little more research, and I think I'm going to save that one for next week. On with the video. So I was looking at a study with 136 elderly individuals aged 65 to 80, and they were obese in the gut specifically. Um, not overly, overweight. They were actually fairly healthy otherwise. They were non-smokers, non-diabetics. There were a third on blood pressure medication, but I mean, again, these are seniors, so and 136 people. That's a pretty good study size. So they separated them into groups. They had an aerobic training exercise group. So that's like cardio. You're running, getting really intense, working up a sweat, really breathing heavily, right? Your body is requiring a lot of oxygen for this kind of training, right? Versus resistance training, which is anything that involves contracting and stretching the muscles. Or they had a combination group, so they and a group that didn't do any exercise, just to compare. So they had a control group. So they looked at the benefits of the three different training modalities on different aspects of life. So, for example, insulin resistance improved in the aerobic group and the mixed training group, but not in the resistance group. So, also the combined group had more of an improvement on their functional limitations as compared with the aerobic and the resistance training. So, what does that tell me? That you'd want a good mix of both. Because by functional limitations, we're talking about things like, walking upstairs, different tests that they use to check the elderly's quality of life. So think about things that they might struggle with. So they were testing these sorts of things. And, we're only looking at, 3 times per week, 60 minutes of, strength training exercises and 90 minutes of aerobic, which sounds like quite a lot for somebody at that age, Again, I guess, though, they are healthy. So what about not so healthy? What about people with joint and bone issues? You know, I have some questions about the benefits of training on joints, of resistance training specifically on joints and bone density. I haven't found anything conclusive yet on that. You know, it's pretty mixed things, and I really want to look into the bone density more. But here's something interesting on elderly with hip fractures. So these guys, they were over 65 years old, and for 10 weeks, they did some exercises. They broke their hips. Some of them had to get hip replacements. Again, they had a control group not doing exercise, and then a group that was. And like they had these guys doing leg press, uh, uh, you know, and then they had them using bands for their hips and their knees, and then they had them basically doing calf raises at body weight. Um, and with the leg press, they had them doing, every couple of weeks they would look and see, okay, maybe these guys can do a little bit more. That's called progressive overload. That's a very important part of helping build muscle because muscle gets stronger. And so if you want it to keep getting stronger, you have to keep loading it in such a way that it's going to get, either you're going to be able to do more repetitions or more weight. Eventually you're not going to get as much benefit from the same weight as you did, 2 weeks ago. So there were some dropouts. Most of them were actually from the control group that wasn't doing anything due to unrelated hospitalizations. Only 2 people had to quit because of pain in certain areas, and most of them had arthritis and a high blood pressure. And the exercise group found increases in walking speed. They were able to bend down to pick up a coin easier and just simply turning around. And this was only from 10 weeks of exercise. I think everybody should exercise and move. The older guys that I know, they don't lift weights. They just do something that they enjoy and they eat healthy. And it's incredible. Like, a lot of them, they look young, they look bright, they look vibrant. You ask them how old they are and they're a lot younger than you'd think they are. So there's definitely a lot of benefits to finding a form of exercise that suits you the best. Staying active, I think, is the most important thing. So, had to catch up after my shift, but, it's crazy. They saw these benefits just from 2 half-hour workouts a week, and the benefits stayed for 3 months later. Like, after 10 weeks of exercise, they still had the same benefits after 3 months, and that isn't taking into account protein or even any food intake at all. Now, they didn't measure bone density at all either, or, specific joint integrity, just quality of life and strength benefits. So, absolutely everybody can benefit from a good variety of exercise. That is my firm belief. And I would be happy to provide a few more studies and maybe talk about this subject a little later on next week. I'm going to talk about protein and the elderly.